Well, welcome. Thank you so much for joining the Feminine Path to Spiritual Liberation. I am so excited about today's class because this specific class, it has a lot on the background. This is the class where I wanted to share a big picture overview of what is it that we really learn on the path of towards liberation and spirituality when we're following the feminine branches of unconditional love and self-acceptance. So the root of this class is my own story, but I want to weave into it all of the things that I have learned in the last few years about Tantra, about self-mastery, about the dynamics of non-duality and how it intervenes and weaves into the world duality. And I'm also going to walk you through a guide that I found myself to be able to lead myself into that space of unconditional acceptance of liberation, because liberation is not a destination, it's a state of mind. It's something that is available to all of us in the present moment right now. And there is a way that we can move and play jujitsu with the mind to be able to enter into those states, especially when we're following this beautiful path of the feminine. So I'm going to begin by providing some context to kind of navigate through the class. So I want to start with the context of what is good and bad, and how that this identification and judgment that we have for things of being either good or bad, they're actually constructs of the mind. And the mind basically creates realities based on our upbringing, based on our society, based on culture norms. And whenever we're judging something as good or bad based on these models, we are building on something that already existed. And as we know, when we look at our world, there is a lot of imbalances in the world. So for this class, I want us to leave at the door the judgment of good and bad and just notice as I'm sharing certain specific subjects and certain words and certain things, just how things feel. And if your mind creates a judgment of like, oh, that's bad, that's wrong, that's not enlightened, that's this, that's that, then just notice them and allow yourself to enter into a space where we're just going to have a conversation to understand the nature of spirituality, of liberation, and the nature of the feminine path. The second thing is, whenever judgments come up for you, whether it's judgments towards yourself, towards people that you know or see, towards me, towards ex-partners, towards whoever comes to mind in those moments, I want you to introduce the idea of this person, it's me pushed out. This person is an aspect of myself. Some aspects are really distant from us. Some aspects are aspects that are showing us what we don't want to embody. Some aspects are aspects of like, wow, this is just magical, but it's all a reflection of us. And from that place, whatever judgments you notice yourself creating about you or others in the context of the class is giving us information. And I want you to leave this class with a lot of information about you, with more knowledge and more wisdom about where is it that you're at, like what is your belief system, your core belief, where does your mind typically take you towards? And from that space, we actually have more mastery over ourselves because we get to see more. Third thing for setting context for the class is the concept of light and dark. I'm going to be using those words a lot in today's class. And light and dark is not good and evil, because remember, we said good or bad is not going to fly in today's space. Light and dark simply means conscious or unconscious. And whenever I talk about the darkness, I want you to imagine yourself being in the forest and it's night and you cannot see a single thing. And you're scared because you cannot see. And you hear something and you're like, oh my God, something is watching me. But it turns out that that something is a little Bambi. And Bambi is like, I cannot see either. And holy shit, there's somebody coming. And Bambi's also afraid of you. And that is the darkness. Two innocent, gentle creatures afraid of each other because they don't see each other. So whenever I refer to darkness, imagine, I don't know what it is because I don't see it, but it's not evil. It's innocence at its core. It's your little Bambi. So just keep that image in mind alive to ease some of the fears and emotions that might arise in case that they do, and just stay very present on what emotional reactions you're having and the judgments of the mind, to take note of them. But overall, remember, light is conscious, dark is just unconscious, what we cannot see. Unconscious doesn't mean bad. Unconscious means we don't have awareness, wisdom, light towards that yet. Okay, so the name of the class is The Feminine Path to Spiritual Liberation. And spiritual liberation is something that I've been deeply interested in throughout my life, because I romanticize these outer states of being in complete connection and union with the divinity, with God, Goddess, with the universe. I've always had an inclination there. So I started my explorations of spiritual liberation from a very young age. And I started with the dark stuff. We started with the Egyptian mysteries, trying to understand what is this thing that I feel, this attraction that I feel. And as I grew up and as I developed into a young woman, and I started exploring my spirituality and going towards very masculine paths, I found non-dual tantra. And in non-dual tantra, it was a path that attracted me the most, because it felt the most like just relax. There's, I come from a Catholic background where it's like, that's bad, judgment, going to hell. And there's a lot of finger pointing, and that just felt so abrasive in my body. And when I found non-dual tantra, I found my body responding to the teachings in a very open, receptive, relaxed way. And the moment that I relaxed, that's when I started understanding in a very somatic level, in a very physical level, what liberation was for me. And the feminine mysteries, and as women, the feminine mysteries that we experience in divinity is not the mystery that is the feminine that I'm going to teach you. It's basically the mystery that I discovered in myself that is going to trigger within you desire to look for your own. Because the divine feminine mystery is encoded within your body. It's something that only you will have access to it from whatever vessel you are. So for me, my wisdom is Silvana's wisdom. I have unlocked Silvana's divine feminine mystery. And what I'm doing here is inviting you to unlock your specific divine feminine mystery, encoded in the body, and a path towards liberation. And liberation is to be able to just be. Whenever we're enslaved by the mind, we are not being, because we're thinking and doing and creating all these judgments and putting ourselves in all these boxes. But whenever we enter into the space of just absolute presence with what is, and we're here in the now, and there's nothing to do, there's nothing to fix, we just are, that is the state of liberation. And it's not a destination. It's a state of consciousness that we get to access in each and every moment. So the goal for this class is that you can leave with that embodied wisdom encoded in you, so you can access that. And whenever the little challenges of the mind come up, then you know exactly how to deal with the mind, how to deal with your misperceptions in a gentle and loving way, not through harshness, not through forcefulness. If you're here, most likely you do not resonate with we just like penetrate to it, and it's just dissolved, like that destructive path of just very deeply embodied masculine wisdom of I'm just presence, and my presence destroys everything. Maybe like that is an absolute truth, but it's not the truth of the divine feminine. So what is the feminine and the masculine? The feminine and the masculine in its plainest terms is love and light. Love being the feminine, light being the masculine. Love is the expression of everything that is. Love is God. Love is the creator in its beingness. It's in everythingness. Light is that absolute emptied presence that observes everything that is. And that presence destroys all of the illusions, because it knows from that side of reality, the absolute truth is that it is just presence. Just presence. That is the truth of the divine masculine polarity. The truth of the divine feminine polarity is that she is everything, and everything she feels is real, and everything she experiences is her reality. So whenever we're going towards the path of the divine feminine, of love, of being that love, we still have to take our inner masculine wisdom with us to remember that transcendental truth that we are just present, and to begin experiencing a sort of romance with all of our feminine energy, to be able to validate that part of ourselves and say, like, yes, you're real, and I feel you, and I love you, and I see you. And in that seeing and in the presence, with everything that is, everything that you're experiencing, and with all of your emotions and feelings and thoughts and everything, we are dissolving the illusion, because then those expressions remember and realize, I'm just love. And once we realize that we are love, that all of our parts is love, all of our parts are love, then we find peace, and peace is liberation. So we can go either way. And most likely you're inclined to the feminine way. You're inclined to the path of being love, understanding love, accepting love, embodying love. So the feminine path of love is also the path of the darkness. Again, remember at the beginning I said darkness is not evil. Darkness is just is the expression of love without the awareness of what it is. So it just is. What do I mean by that? A practical example is whenever we just experience a trigger, and then we're like there's the reaction of the body, and then we're in that rage or in that anger, and we're about to burst out in tears. That initial something, that's the feminine. Our masculine comes into play whenever we become aware that there is an emotion present, and then the mind kicks in and says, that's anger, I'm angry. What happens in that moment of the reaction, the emotion that arises, that is a very feminine expression in its rawest form. Then she gets met by your inner Shiva, the presence. Oh, I'm aware, I'm here. And then the mind creates a judgment, because that's the mind's job, is to categorize everything and put little labels on everything that is, because that's the way that it navigates the world. It's not bad. It's just what is. It's the mechanics. It's the way the computer works. So it's not about eradicating the computer or destroying it or detonating it. It's about understanding it's a computer and it's doing its job. What's my relationship to the computer? What's my relationship to this technology that is my mind, that is labeling things because that's what it does? Do I fight it, resist it? Do I get angry at it? Do I get angry at a computer? Or do I just know it's a computer doing its thing? And then I go back to me, go back to my heart, go back to noticing what's there, to becoming aware. And in the masculine path of light is the wisdom to be able to observe everything that is and find the love in every single expression, find innocence in everything, because love is innocent. So that is the culmination, and we are interacting with both. We have masculine and feminine energies, and in this class I want to map out this feminine path that we gravitate towards, because it's not really, I find, I could be, this is just my experience, but I find that it's not really a choice. It's not like one day you woke up and you say, like, I'm definitely going to do the masculine path of just mastering control and presence. No, maybe we tried and then we're like, fuck, I just can't get past this thing, and there's this part of me that's pulling me, and there's all these emotions that are here, and I try to bring presence and it just doesn't go away, and then we fight it, and then we're in this back and forth in the fight. So for me, the feminine path is one that it's just the way that energy naturally flows. So energy naturally goes, for me personally, into what is love trying to teach me here? What wants to be felt? Because I want to feel everything, the good and the bad. I just want to feel it, because when I feel it, I feel closer to divinity. I feel closer to God, the universe, source, oneness. And the key that I found in this journey of understanding this feminine polarity to healing is the embodiment. It's through the body. So in a lot of ancient practices, masculine practices, you have the image, I have the image of the meditating monk in a cave in the mountain, in the Himalayas, just being full presence, completely renounced of the world, holding that frequency. For me, that's the picture of the masculine path. Where are the pictures of the feminine path in our current day, modern day life? What is that? And we can find some architectural variation ruins of what that was. And it's usually whenever you see the images of the ancient goddesses, the big breast, big belly, that like abundant flow that you can tell that that's a well-nourished body, that is the symbol of the feminine path, because it's the symbol of the personification of the earth. Woman, the female body, because it is the conduit in which we all come to this physical reality, is a representation of the earth. So whenever we talk about plant medicines like ayahuasca, for example, it's she is the earth, the grandmother, the mother. It's a feminine energy, deeply connected to the earth. So how does a woman embody her feminine essence? There's many ways. We have some that are more surface level, some that are deeper. And, you know, the pictures of it, it's like, okay, like we're in the body, we're moving it, we're feeling. That is a part of it, very important part of the process. But at the core is, can you meet everything that is alive in each moment? In each moment, we have an opportunity to having and experiencing an inner marriage where our Shiva and our Shakti become united in each moment. So in this moment, what is alive within you right now? What are you feeling right now? And before the mind tells you what it is, there is a little in between moment where you just ask the question, what am I feeling right now? And then you breathe, and there is a sensation in the heart or in the body or wherever you're at. So I'm in a class right now and I'm connected to myself. So I feel my energy here, but maybe you're like watching the class and doing your thing, or maybe you're at work and you have the headphones. I mean, I don't know. So different areas are going to be lit up differently. But when you ask that question, what am I feeling right now? That space in between the question and the answer that the mind gives us, that's the experience of the feminine. So I was sharing about the moment in between the feminine expression and the mind's judgment. That moment, right before the mind categorizes something as being XYZ, is when we get to actually experience the rawest form of feminine expression. And in that expression, whenever we are being invited to experience that inner marriage with our inner Shiva, that is an invitation for our full presence to be alive with that expression. So what does that really look like? That means that whenever I experience a very strong emotion and the mind wants to immediately judge it as something, to be able to notice that judgment and then hold it. We're not going to be violent with it, but we just say like, I see you. Okay, that's an interesting judgment of what this might be and could be. But the reality is that I don't really know for sure. So I'm going to be present with this, that it's alive right now. And in that presence, in that space of I'm feeling and I am aware of the feeling and I am with the feeling, that's the inner marriage. That's the union. So in the path of healing, a lot of us, I mean, I know some of you in person. I know that we are healers at our core. We have been on this path of discovering ourselves, finding God, finding oneness, healing whatever wounds and pains and traumas we've been carrying for all of our lives. And in that desire to heal, something that I noticed in myself and that I also seen in some of my sisters is that there are times that we get a little bit stuck on this wheel of, I need to heal. A wound came up. I need to heal it. The intention is so pure because it's from a place of my wounds need me, my heart needs me, and I like something needs my attention. I need to go mother that part of myself. But my guess is that most likely, if you're here, if you're taking this class, that means that you're on a healing journey, or at least have the desire to get to know yourself at a deeper level. And whenever we are in the journey of self-discovery and in the journey of understanding our wounds and healing, it's very common we can actually get lost into the belief system that there's more to heal. Because from one perspective, one truth says, yes, there's always more to heal, there's more to feel, until every single human being on this planet is freed of pain and suffering. Like, we have work to do collectively as a species. And that is truth. That is one truth. And the other truth is that we know that in this moment we have access to being complete and being fully healed and whole in this present moment right now. And this is perfection. Even with all of the flaws, even with all of the misperceptions and pain and suffering that is in the planet, that is going on around us right now, even with that, this moment is full of perfection. This moment is full of God, it's full of presence. And we get to access that state of freedom in each and every moment. And the more that we do that for ourselves, the more that we are expanding that onto others. Because when you enter into that space of, I am complete, I am whole, and I experience all these emotions, and they're perfect messengers and they're perfect expressions, and you have that relationship with yourself, with your emotions, with your mind, with your body, with your reality, and you go into the presence of another human being and you look into their eyes from that place, their love, their expression of love, or the misperception of not being loved gets illuminated by your presence, by your light. And in that, you are healing them. And healing them is just giving them the ability for that which is in darkness to be perceived by light. So the question of like, okay, what is it that I need to work on? Because the answer is like nothing. The answer is everything is perfect as it is. Everything in this moment is as it is. So why on earth would I be doing this type of work that I'm doing if, it's like I got no customers because everybody's perfect as they are? And that's not very realistic, right? Because we are in this journey of like, okay, there's more. We have this longing for more union, more connection, more love. And the good news is that love is unlimited. The good news is that we're never going to run out of material to just feel and experience more of what we are. The bad news is that if we have a belief that I need to fix and heal something so that I can access liberation, we're like going against running towards a carrot that is just moving and is going to move forever and ever. So can we hold both realities? Can we hold the desire for moreness, for more expansion, for knowing that we are in an unlimited reality where we get to feel and experience more? And at the same time, can we access that absolute knowing of truth, of transcendental truth, that there's nothing to fix, there's nothing to heal, everything is as perfect as it is in this moment, and you have access to that state of being liberated and free from the limitations of the mind in this moment. And that's an art. You see, it's not a science. Science is step 1, do shadow work. Step 2, do this thing. Step 3, be free. That's a science. This is not a science. This is an art. And it's the art of living. It's the art of our relationship to life. And when we get to work and nurture our relationship to life from a very detached and also passionate place, where it's like I'm it and I love it, and at the same time I'm letting it go and I'm dancing with it, we are in the art of living. We get to see the dance from a different perspective, and that's my work. So my work is not to fix people or heal people. My work is to be like, all right, we got nothing to heal, but then your mind is stuck in this deep program that says that you do. So how do we mend the relationship with your mind? How do we mend the relationship with the emotions that we reject, the emotions of shame, of unworthiness, fear? Because it is in our relationship to those things that we reject that our work lies. It's not in ourselves. It's like, I need to fix me. I need to heal this wound, because then I'll be the embodiment of compassion and love, and I'll be an ascended master, and then I'm gonna transcend to the 5D, and then I'm gonna be an alien. Like that's the mind creating a story, and then going into this, into this wheel of like, yes, there's so much more and more and more. And that desire of more and longing, it's divine, and it's there for a reason. It's because that's what we are. It's our nature, our unlimited nature. So the work is not in changing, fixing, or healing yourself. The work is in accepting ourselves as we are, with all of the colors, with all of the emotions, with the density and the lightness. And we get to do that by working and mending our relationship with those undesirable emotions, with the programs of the mind, with the misperceptions of the world. It's just our relationship to what is here, not me. I am divine. I am a perfect divine expression of God in human form in this life as Silvana. And there is many colors, there's many things that are, edges that are rough, there's edges that are soft, and all of that is part of my unique mandala of the expression of this being that I am. And that is the truth for all of us. But whenever we get impacted by life, by our mind, by our emotions, our close, like whenever we close ourselves off to really receive what life is presenting to us, that is suffering. When we are resisting, is suffering. When we feel pain, and I love to do this exercise with physical pain, and I invite you to do it next time that you experience a physical pain of any kind. Let's say that you have pain in your tooth, because that one's a really bad one. You can barely do anything. And you feel the nerve throbbing to your head, and you're like, in that fight of like this fucking pain. It's like, what do I need to do? The pills don't work. Like, you even go out to get pharmaceuticals, nothing's really working. Or maybe you're like, no, I need to find all the different ways that I can alleviate this pain. What would happen if you get curious about the pain? And what I mean by that is, like, you feel the pain, and then you put your awareness into that area, and you feel the intensity of it, and you feel it magnifying, because the moment that we perceive it, it just magnifies, because it becomes our entire reality. Instead of focusing on like, I'm going to focus on work or something else, we focus on the actual pain, and you feel it and you breathe through it. And what you'll notice in the feeling of that pain, in the full presence of it, a lot of emotions come. And sometimes you notice and experience the emotion of desperation, and you feel despair, because the pain it's like it's overwhelming, and then you feel like crying. And whenever you notice that emotion, it unfolds into something else and something else. You get to a point where the whole experience can become pleasurable. How the fuck does pain become pleasure? It's by feeling it fully, because then you begin opening up more and more and more of that pain. It's easy to do with physical pain, because it's one that's here on the flesh. So we get to really, like localize it. It's like our body helps us. But it's harder to do when we're experiencing emotional pain, which is why the exercise with the body works so well. Because if we can do that with our body, with physical pain, and take us to the threshold of experiencing pleasure by fully accepting the pain, then we can take that same pattern into our emotional pain. And some of the most horrendous emotions that we feel are the emotion of shame. And we despise feeling shame so much that we form so many other things around shame. So when we get to just feel that ever consumption of just being swallowed by it and notice what is there, we also get to experience bliss on the other side of it. But what we do naturally is that we feel it, and then we back out. We feel it, we back out. Feel it, resist it. So the process is never complete. The emotion never feels fully acknowledged. And think of it, for example, let's say that you're in a partnership with someone, and then the person is like, yes, I love you, I receive you, come here, and you open your heart more and more and more. And they're like, oh, wait, no, never mind, not that. And then you get pushed away, and then they invite you again, and you're like, okay, but last time you told me no. And I'm a little scared of opening myself up again. And they're like, no, 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 like I'm here, you open up. And then they do that again. That's what we're doing to our emotions. That's what we do to our shame and to our rage and our anger and our sadness and to all of the things. So let's be good partners to our emotion. Let's be a good Shiva to all of those expressions. Because whenever we do that and we learn to receive everything, we are working on our relationship to life. And in a flowy relationship to life, we get to understand the wisdom of love. The wisdom that happens, that we learn about whenever we just follow the path of love for everything that is, the path of a conditional acceptance for all of our emotions, for all of our impulses, for all of our desires. And for a woman, and to be have the honor of being a physically embodied woman, to follow our libido, to follow where our raw sexual nature wants to take us, even when it doesn't make sense. That is the guide. It's very easy. The reason why it's hard is because all of the programs are designed to pull us away from that, because apparently God loves a good challenge. So it is hard, but at the same time, it's not. The mechanics of it, the natural flow of energy is extremely easy. You will, like, if we follow that path of least resistance and love and accept everything that we are, we experience freedom, and then we live our lives very differently, because then your relationship to your very human, normal emotions changes. And that allows you to experience bliss. I can experience bliss in my sadness, in my heartbreak, in my rage, in my shame. When I resist, when I allow it, when I resist it, I'm in suffering and I forget. And then I'm like banging my head against the wall and being like, I need to go drink medicine again because and then, we open up a Pandora box there of just more and more things to do. But the path is easy. It's just accepting what is, accepting what is present. It's accepting all of yourself. So it's grounded into physical reality. What does that look like? How can we, as women, how can we enter into that realm? How can we experience more of that, like work through the programs, work through the misperceptions, and allow ourselves to just receive everything it is? Because it is difficult. The mind has all of these programs. Society is telling us we can. We have all of this pressure from our partners, from our friendships, from our family, from the news, from everywhere in the world. There's pressure to go the other way, to abandon yourself, abandon your undesirable emotions, change, mold, be this thing that you are told because this is good. The moment you drop the idea of good or bad and you just get curious, we're like, well, let's see. I don't know if this is bad, really. It doesn't feel nice, but what is this? The moment we drop that story of trying to be good and trying to avoid being bad, we just liberated a huge program that has been placed on women. A huge one. Good or bad? Who the fuck said what's good or what's bad? How about what feels good to you? And then there's the, okay, well, pain doesn't feel good to me, so that must be bad. No, what do you feel when you truly feel that pain? You notice there is pleasure in the full experience of that pain. There was a time that I did Bufo. And for the ones that don't know, it's toad medicine is 5-MeO-DMT. And it's a very short experience, only 15 minutes. And in this particular ceremony, time slowed down a lot for me, where I got to dissect the energy of orgasm. What is an orgasm for me in my reality? And what I experienced was that we think orgasm is just like full pleasure. But whenever we start dissecting it, full pleasure is God experiencing itself, which means that we are experiencing every single emotion, sensation, creation in one moment. It's like time falls and everything becomes one, and then poof, that's what we experience as the energy of orgasm. And when it started slowing down, what it looked like to me was like there was sadness met by full presence. Joy met by full presence, despair, full presence, rage, full presence. Basically everything and presence expanded and then contracted into one moment in a physical sensation was the energy of the orgasm. And that just blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, that we're experiencing God in its rawest form. But when we dissect it, when we look at the microscopic mechanics of it, it's just feeling everything. So how do we live an orgasmic or pleasurable life? Is by feeling everything that we experience, feeling everything that wants to be felt fully. And the mechanics and the, you know, the containers, some of the masculine containers that we use for this process, that's when we get to understand the realm of healing work. So for me, there is like 4 different pillars of healing, 4 different pillars of taking ourselves through this process fully. The first pillar is the realm of shadow work. So it's what we know as shadow work, which is feeling like discovering, uncovering what's hidden, what we don't want to see. It's that disown and the judge aspect of ourselves and what that seeing that feels like to us. So in that process of shadow work, we actually get to look at the disowned parts of us, what we judge the most in others, what we judge the most in ourselves, and what we reject the most in ourselves and others. That includes personality traits, that includes behaviors, that includes emotions. So in the realm of shadow work, for me, it's like the big initiation into getting comfortable with this type of work, because whenever we go into level 10 of hardness on training on how to feel the heaviness, it's stepping consciously fully into the realm of shadow work is going to allow us to really work on those relationships in a very slow way, so we can flavor the disownment, or we can flavor the shame. The next step for entering into this deep transformative is to acknowledge our core wounds. There are many wounds, but for me, I've noticed that there is 2 primary wounds, and is our mother wound and our father wound. Why? Because those are our first experiences in the world when we come out of our mother's womb. So how are you on this earth is because your mother and your father united energetically, spiritually, and in that moment there was that union that created you. So the 2 become one, and then the one becomes impacted by the 2. So then if we work on those specific mother and father wounds, we're going at the root. We are understanding, okay, this originates so many other wounds, so many other belief systems. But if I go straight at the root, then, you know, we're doing the easy work, because it's hard, but at the same time it's like quantum work. The moment you heal your mother wound, you will notice how a lot of your sisterhood wounds heal as well. A lot of like your own self-judgments and all of the different distortions that you have about yourself begin being illuminated and begin healing. So shadow work, core wounds, which are the mother and the father wounds. And then we step into the realm of the light, the feminine light, the young woman, which is the woman that she has been doing all of this inner work, getting to know and understand herself. And then we want to express that work. We want to come out into the light, share our gifts, move energy out. That's why it's the young feminine, because young, it's primarily masculine. But if you see the symbol of yin and yang, the masculine, the yang, has a drop of the yin. So when we've cultivated so much yin energy, so much self-reflection, and cultivated our water and our earth, and just dive deeper into that, then that energy wants to also come out and be expressed. And in that realm of the yang feminine expression is where a lot of our fears of being seen come to the surface. What is your relationship to power? What is your relationship to having a lot of eyes on you? How do you feel when you're being perceived by the world, and when you know you're being judged by the world? Because judgments can be good or bad. Judgments are judgments, and we all have them with everything. I can look at, the window, and I'm like, it's a clear window. I made a judgment that thing that I'm observing is a window. So everything that we are observing is being judged, which means that whenever we come out of our shell, out of our healing shell, out of the deep realm of medicine work, of shadow work, of or deep intentional emotional healing, then we have to stand in the gaze of the sun, in the gaze of the perception of others. And that is a relationship to power presence. And that is going to put all of the work that we did before to the test, because then we get to observe and notice what's the debris, what was left over whenever I allow myself to go within, be with all of me. And then now I'm revealing myself. And I was like, hi, I am this perfectly imperfect human with all of these colors and these emotions that don't make sense. And you can observe me as well. And I know you're going to have your judgments. And how does that make me feel? So that is the right to express, the right to exist, the right to be ourselves and to be observed by all. It's becoming in service to God, to know that whatever we radiate is being observed by the Shiva in other individuals, and the impact that that can have on them. It's something that you take deeply. So you take responsibility over your energy. You take responsibility over how you say things, because maybe I am with someone and I'm like, oh my God, this person is deep in a misperception of being a victim. And I can say, you're being a victim. Or I can know, what does the victim need? The victim needs presence, he needs love, he needs safety. And I can provide that for them. And then very gently, I can use my wisdom to point out that them, whatever I feel might help them rediscover and see that they are in a victim. That compassionate way of managing energy, for me, that's the mastery of the the four queens, the mastery of being able to not just be like, yes, I am a powerful being and I show myself, and if you don't like it, it's your own judgment, because your judgment of me is a projection of you, blah blah blah. Or we can take responsibility for everything, even if it's not you. It's like, if you're experiencing, if you're feeling it, you get to have an impact on that dynamic. That's the energy of the responsible woman, of the powerful woman, of the young woman, of the changer of the world, of the mother, of the one that steps up in her power and says, yes, I understand the dynamics of the world. I understand myself. I honor me first and my emotions first. And at the same time, I'm very responsible with how I show up in the world and how I show up energetically in other people's fields. That is the most compassionate, loving thing. Honoring yourself and then honoring the other as well. And that's the most loving way of showing up. And the last step for the liberation path of feminine energy is to enter into the deep realm of our own feminine mystery. And like I said at the beginning, we all have our own unique feminine mystery. And I am in the discovery process of understanding Silvana's mystery. And each one of you is going to go into the process of understanding your divine feminine mystery, which means that it's not something that you can learn from a book, that you can learn from a teacher, from a guru. That can guide you towards yourself to ask the right questions. But at the end of the day, this feminine path is the encoding of a very unique expression and wisdom that only you have access to. And I love to see this as your responsibility to service humanity, to service every person you come in contact with in your life, to be able to dive into yourself and reveal the wisdom that you have. It's your responsibility to do that. And it's a gift for all of us. For me to be in the presence of a woman that knows herself, that is in touch with her mystery, and she shares with me what she knows about to be truth from her experience, it can be profoundly healing and illuminating for me. And we can do that for one another. It's not that one becomes more than the other and there's only one truth. There's unlimited truth, and we all get access to one, to our own, to a unique universe. So this last step of the journey is the culmination and the integration of all the other pieces. What did you learn when you were doing shadow work? What did you learn in your discovery and your healing of your relationship with the mother and father energies in your life, with Mother Earth and Father Sun? Like, what did you discover there? What did you discover when you were in the gaze of others, when you were being witnessed and observed by the world, by life, and your relationship to it? What do you notice about the way that you communicate, the way that you express? What is received with love? What is not received? How do I express my love? It doesn't mean that all of you are going to go and then go teach on the internet about what you learned. Maybe you just become an exceptional lover, and that you fill a house with so much love that is your service. You cultivate a little pocket of space and time that is a vortex for love and pleasure and desire. Maybe you do it with your children. Maybe you go and you actually do a lot of masculine oriented action. You said, I'm going to change the way we treat the planet. There's so many ways. For me, I'm in my way. My way is this. It's like, I want to speak with women. I want to connect with them. I want to receive them. I want to become almost like it's interesting. I am a double Gemini, moon and sun in Gemini. And I'm understanding my archetype a lot better in my work, because in my interpersonal relationships with like my partner and with with the masculine, I love stepping into that surrender feminine mode. But whenever I'm in my work, like, I want to be the Shiva for the woman that come in my field. And I used to have resistance to it. I'm like, oh, I'm being very masculine in this. And I'm like, yeah, that's just the way that my energy naturally flows. I want to become that placeholder for the women that work with me so they can unravel themselves. And I'm like, yes, I got you. I see you. I observe you. I'm witnessing you. It's like I get a lot of enjoyment out of that. That's where my energy naturally flows, because that's where I feel the pleasure. So we all have different ways of expressing that feminine mystery, but we have to take steps to dive there with responsibility, with compassion, with love, honoring our innocence, honoring the innocence in the other, and honoring everything that comes, honoring our no's, our rage, our protections, our walls, honoring everything and accepting everything. And whenever we get to experience our raw, unique feminine power and energy, I know, like, this is a physical knowing in my being, is that women that are in touch with their feminine mystery and are expressing from that place will change the world. Like, this is a knowing, and maybe it's a knowing that I won't get to see myself in my lifetime, but it is my hope and desire that generations after me, it's like, yep, that's it. Look at this. That's it. It was in the hands of the feminine, in all of us, the hands of the feminine in men and women. But I work with women, and I love to empower women and remind them, hey, this is your gift. This is like, discover yourself and then share that out into the world. So this is the feminine path to spiritual liberation. In a nutshell, is love all of you, love all of your expressions, all of your emotions, live life, breathe life, and allow yourself to see you in the light of divinity, to see yourself as a perfect, unique creation of life. So thank you so much. I do want to make an invitation for those of you that want to continue this work or resonate with my work. I have programs for every step of the way. You will know exactly what is it that you need. This is not a linear thing. It's not like, oh, first one thing, then the other, then the other. This is, we move in spirals. So sometimes we need to revisit different things. And if you feel inspired to work going to those core wounds, so working with like mother and father energy, I do have a mother wound course, and I'm going to be sending all that information through email. I'll put it also on the chat here on both on Facebook and on Zoom in a second. I am in the process of launching a new coaching program called Leonas, which means lionesses, and this is about expressing that young, powerful feminine energy, to be able to show up in your power, taking responsibility for everything. This program is for women that already have done a lot of shadow work and are familiar with the deep emotional healing work that happens in shadow work and in deep emotional healing. And this is more an invitation to step up into a leadership role for other women, for the feminine, for the children, for the planet. So it's an activating group coaching container that starts on April 14th. And then we are going to begin full force. The program is almost finalized, and I'm calling in very specific women that want to cultivate more yang. And if you want to work one-on-one with me, I am still taking one-on-one clients, and I will share with you my application. So there's an application, and then for one-on-one, I like to have discovery calls with everyone so we can answer questions and just see if it's a fit for both of us. So I'm going to put those links here on the group Zoom and then Facebook. And if you have any questions, you can contact me on social media. I am always around. Thank you so much for your time, for being here, for showing up live, for the ones that show up live. And if you're watching the recording, I send you all of my love. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for doing this work. And it has been an honor to teach this class.